Howdy folks, and welcome to another Taste of Gameplay video, this time for the Tier 6 Commonwealth Premium Cruiser, the Perth. As always, these videos are designed to give you a sample of the gameplay of the ship, not to be an exhaustive analysis. I recommend the Wargaming Wiki or other content creators. I am happy to bring you this game. I enjoyed this game. I think it's a good example of team play. It was fun to play. I really like the Perth. I think it's a great cruiser. I'm going to definitely recommend you pick this one up for a few simple reasons, but the biggest one being the smokes, these three crawling smokes. It's really hard to find a tier 6 cruiser with smokes. There are not that many of them, and the Perth is one, and I enjoy it for that reason. The guns are not bad. You get 7.5 second reload on 8 152s that do okay damage. Nothing amazing, but they have a poor range, but they have pretty good shell velocity. So as long as something is within your range, you can do pretty good damage to it. You do get this spotting aircraft. I'm actually never going to use it, I don't think, in this game, but it is super handy. It increases your range by 20%. And since you have reasonably good shell velocity, you can actually use that range. So yeah, it's got a hydro. It's reasonably fast. The armor is not good, but it does have one narrow band of 100 millimeter armor along the center. So, you know, in a pinch, sometimes you can bounce a few shells. It's got some torpedoes. Yeah, it's just a really good all-around ship with the smoke. And I think the smoke is what I'm going to focus on in this game. It's going to come in especially handy because this is a small match, only 9 players with 2 aircraft carriers per side, which is nuts. And you can basically assume that in a match like this with 2 aircraft carriers in a cruiser, you're going to get focused at some point. And I am. I'm going to have the Ryujo, I think, all over me for quite a while. Let's watch this opposing Perth, actually. I'm super not picking on this guy. That's not the point of this, but he's going to do a few things that I'm not sure I would do. And one of them is he's not going to use his smoke. I don't immediately know why. So, smokes. There's a few things about smokes that I want to talk about that apply to the Perth specifically, but just more in general. And then he's going to turn broadside. Yeah. I mean, obviously not the best idea, right? Not using smoke, turning completely broadside to me. I mean, I realize it's only cruiser guns, but yeah, he's absolutely... Now, it does have that armor band in the middle, but that just proves to be enough to arm the shells for a Citadel. So, smokes. What can you do right and what can you do wrong? Well, first of all, I'm doing a couple of things wrong here. The biggest thing, I think, is... And this is, I'm saying this as much to remind myself as I am anybody else. Don't use smokes in situations where if the smoke wasn't there, that's not a position you would want to be in. So this is not a good position, right? I am absolutely like almost dead broadside to this Andrea Doria. He is really close to me. He could absolutely overmatch me through my bow. The only reason he can't is because of the smoke. And you're like, well, but you're in a smoke, so it's fine, right? Well, yeah, totally. But let's imagine the smoke went away right now. Right, I am bow in. I'm way too close to this guy. Now, luckily, the Perth has an amazing concealment. It's 8.8. So, in theory, from this position, and I'm backing away to improve my position, but let's pretend we were back where I started. I think I was like 9.1, 9.2 kilometers away from him. That is distressingly close to my concealment. And we've got 2 aircraft carriers in this game. So all it would take if that smoke went away is for one of these aircraft carriers to spot me and that Andrea Doria to completely overmatch me through the bow. So that's kind of like rule number 1. Try not to smoke in places where you don't have an exit strategy and it's not a position you would otherwise want to be in. In fact, I'm going to get a little bit lucky here because this Andrea Doria, I mean, it's not entirely luck. I sort of made my own luck a little bit, but this Andrea Doria is going to take a couple shots at me that if he hit, he could easily have dev struck me, easily, this being one of them. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of thing number 1 about smoke. A few other things, though, about smoke. Number one, and I did do this one correctly, turn on your hydro and smoke if you have hydro. And if you don't have hydro, be very aware that torpedoes are coming. Also, you'll notice this little number that comes up on the screen when I deploy my smokes. That's a mod that I think is just almost mandatory for the game. It's called the smoke timer. And it's super important because it tells you how many seconds you have left until your smoke goes away. It's a little bit broken with some smoke generators, like crawling smoke generators, because it does it per puff, which isn't always exactly what you want to know. But in general, you have to be very aware of when your smoke's about to expire. In particular, so you don't do that thing that I'm totally guilty of sometimes, where you take one last shot, one shot too many. You go to click the button, and just as you're firing, the smoke dissipates, and all of a sudden you're spotted for the full duration. So yeah, use that smoke timer mod. And then remember your smoke firing penalty. In the Perth, it's luckily only 4.5 kilometers, which is pretty good. But what that means, if you don't know, is that if somebody is within 4.5 kilometers of you and you fire your guns, even though you're in smoke, they can spot you, just like they could without the smoke. In ships with higher caliber guns, I think it's dependent entirely on the caliber of the guns. In ships with higher caliber guns, you get an even longer smoke penalty. And sometimes it can be really far. Sometimes it can be like 10, 12 kilometers, which is why battleships with smokes is still valuable, but not as valuable. So anyway, smokes are amazing. I much prefer ships with smokes, but smokes, when used incorrectly, can definitely get you killed. This game is interesting because if you just looked at the board, you might think we're losing, right? We're down 110 points. We're down an aircraft carrier. But I felt pretty confident because of our positioning. You got some ships on the red team that are just way out of position, like that Farragut down there. I mean, he did his thing, right? He went and killed one of our aircraft carriers, and that's great. But now he's basically kind of out of the match, I mean, for the foreseeable future. And this repulse is just not really doing the enemy team all that much good. On our side, we've got a nice flank developing up on like the 2, 3, 4, 5 line. We've got a bunch of ships that are in a good position. They're not over pushed, but they've got spotting from a destroyer. Sorry, that's a sub, the Undine, but he's going to do a good job of spotting. And we're headed for their cap, which means they're going to have to rotate around. Like, I'm not saying it's an ideal position. It does, in theory, kind of suck that we got flanked over there on the 910 line, but they're just not going to be able to put that to good use. Like, it's not going to do them any good. And I'm actually in a really great position here because I can help my Serov with the Farragut, but also in the meantime, I can just absolutely go to town on this repulse. Now, I shot before my smoke was ready for me, which is a little bit of a mistake, but I have a crawling smoke, so I can keep moving forward a little bit. And also I could see that his guns were not pointed towards me. When I make suggestions like this, by the way, like, my goal is not to convince you that I'm an amazing player at World of Warships. I absolutely am not. So as many things as I get right in this game, I get a lot of them wrong. Now you may say, I just broke my own rule, right? I'm smoking right here in open water against this repulse. Well, I have a backup plan, and the backup plan are these islands in front of me, right? If I suddenly got spotted, I'm just going to accelerate and I'm going to hide behind these islands. There's really nobody that can shoot at me except possibly the repulse, but he's not paying any attention to me. And also he's got a really terrible angle, and we're just going to farm like a whole bunch of damage on him. He's going to go down eventually here. I don't remember exactly who gets him. I think it's this Icarus. And then we're going to go help with that Farragut. That's how it's done. And that's kind of it. I mean, that's how a game that looked like it might be a loss just sort of turns into a win, right? The repulse, like, way over pushed, and now he's basically in a weird position. He's chasing our Azumo, and now he's dead. They've got 2 ships over on the 910 flank that have no shots against any of us, and they've got this Farragut who's over here chasing our aircraft carrier. I happen to feel, and maybe players that are better at the game can prove me wrong, that chasing aircraft carriers like this in a destroyer, while it may be kind of satisfying, is just not a good idea. You take yourself completely out of the battle, you often wind up in a very odd position, and the team doesn't get the benefit of your main strength, which is spotting. He's not spotting. He's not spotting anything for the Reds. Like he's way over here. I mean, yes, left completely unchecked, a destroyer can get in there and kill an aircraft carrier. Sometimes. I mean, but here's the thing about that. Like, they've made aircraft carriers kind of hard to kill. And so, yes, you probably will eventually sink them, like with your torpedoes. But if they're maneuvering and running away from you and using their guns and using their planes, it's going to take you a long time to kill them. And there's an odds-on chance that they're actually going to win, or that you're at the very least going to take a lot of damage. So, I don't know. I just don't think it's that great a strategy. I think it's not really what destroyers are for. It's tempting, of course. Everybody wants to kill the aircraft carrier, but I just don't think it's a winning plan. And now the game's turned into a little bit of a blowout, right? I mean, it's gotten a little bit out of hand. I think I'm gonna end up sinking this Farragut, but it almost doesn't matter who gets him. Like, one way or the other, we're gonna get him. And now we've pushed all the way into their base. That flank that was on the 2, 3, 4, 5 line that I was mentioning was very strong, and we've sunk basically everything, and we're now in their cap, and this game is basically over. But yeah, the Perth, I really like the Perth. Like, if you want a tier 6 premium cruiser, you've got a couple doubloons, I think the Perth is a great way to invest them. I've had really good luck in this ship. It's fun to play because it's kind of a good all-arounder. You have tools to get out of trouble. You don't have a heal, so you gotta be a little bit careful there, but you have the smokes, you have torpedoes, you have hydro, you have pretty good guns, you got an adequate number of hit points, you got a little bit of armor, as long as you don't push it and get yourself in weird positions. Yeah, I mean, I think especially with a good team around you, I think the Perth is a great utility cruiser, great team player. I like all the Commonwealth cruisers. You know, I love the Surveyor and all the cruisers that are kind of built around this model, like some utilities, some smoke. Yeah, I find them really fun. It's really hard to aim at this destroyer. He's fast, but I gotcha. Yeah, so that's it. The Perth. Good team. Good game. I like the Perth. I always have fun in her, and this game is no exception. Let's see how I did. I think it was a 2 badge, if I remember correctly. Yeah, which means it's a top 10% game, something like 1,300 experience. Yeah, so really good job to the Ismail and Repulse. And yeah, fun ship. Definitely recommend you pick this one up. See you guys in the next one.